Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this next module. We're going to talk in this module about insulin, and specifically learning to control your insulin and understanding what is actually going on in the body in regards to insulin, because it's quite a hot topic. It's a bit of a buzzword in the health and fitness and weight loss world right now. But many people don't really understand it or understand the importance of it or what its role is and all this kind of stuff. And what I want to do is I want to take you from somebody who's got erratic cravings and suffering with hunger to someone who's pretty calm and controlled about food and is losing weight and getting much more controlled over their eating. But the ultimate byproduct is you're losing weight. Your body weight starts to normalize itself, and food is no longer all the other things that we make it. We make it a celebration, a soother, we make it a pastime, all this kind of stuff. Food just becomes fuel and it becomes information to your body. So this is what we're going to talk about in our little insulin thing, okay? And I've got this little picture of this lion just roaring, a wild animal. And this is what a lot of people's bodies are functioning in regards to insulin. It's like a wild animal. It's just running wild. Now, there's lots of different reasons for that. The way that food is put together nowadays, our typical, our Western diet, where it's so high in sugar, but also, we, for a long time we've been trying to control calories and count calories, and the old low-fat diet thing has really hit us hard. And what the food industry was doing is every time they stripped out fats to reduce the calorie and to reduce the amount of fat in a food, they were trying to replace it with sugar or types of sugar, different forms of sugar, in order to increase the taste, to make it taste better. And for a long time we ran away scared, petrified of fat. But fat was never the enemy. Fat was never the problem. It's sugar that's the problem. Because, I just want you to think back to like caveman times and all this kind of stuff. Sugar was a real commodity. It was something that we couldn't get easily, apart from a few berries and actually the sugar that's in berries, fructose, works in the body completely different to any other kind of sugar. It's worked completely different. What we know is like refined table sugar, processed sugar, these sweeteners and all this kind of stuff. They work in a body, in the body, in evolutionary terms, very erratically. We used it as a bit of a purpose because it was so rare. We would often, if we came across it, we would gorge ourselves on it. Think about honey. Honey is a natural form of sweetener, and we'd only get it in the summer months, and we'd have to risk pretty much life and limb to get it. So we never really developed to function on sugar like that. But a massive proportion of our modern day diet is just teeming with sugar. Okay, so in this module, we're going to talk about what's going on in the body, how you're perhaps eating right now, how we need to change that to make it much more easier for you so you can control it and understand what's going on in regards to the health benefits and all this kind of stuff. Because, what a really scary fact right now is that the rate of type 2 diabetes is going through the roof. And not just in adults. In not too long ago, it was an adult problem, usually adults in older age. Now it's a childhood problem. People, developing type 2 diabetes, which is obviously a function of the body where the body is just not, it's not reacting, it's not responding to insulin the way it should do. Now, the medical world, the way they tackle that is give you more insulin. And this is, the medical work sees diabetes as a progressive health problem where they expect you to die from it because of the way that they treat it, and people come to Team Bootcamp and they come on the Conquer Food program, and they can eradicate their need for medication after a few days, just because we put a lot of effort into controlling your insulin. Now, it does mean that you've got to eat differently. It does mean that you've got to think about how you put foods together and the way that you eat But what you're doing right now isn't serving you. You know, if you're carrying extra weight, if you've got sugar cravings and all this kind of stuff, what you're doing right now is wrong. You know, it needs to change. And it's going to mean sort of giving up some stuff, you know, like we said before about, you know, forget what you know and all this kind of stuff, all the different things that we've gone through on this food facts thing. This one is really, really important because we need to really change the way that you've developed. And so let's get into it. All right. So I'm going to use this little sketch pad here, okay, where I can do a little bit of a drawing because I normally, when I'm explaining this, I usually draw this. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit first of all about how I used to eat. Okay. So like I explained before, I carried a lot of excess weight. I don't know if I've got a picture here handy. Anyway, but I was a porker, and I was a porker because I didn't understand how to control insulin in the body. I ate too much, I drank too much, and that was basically it. For years I kidded myself that I was big boned and all this kind of stuff, and genetically that's how I was always meant to be, but it was all rubbish. And so I want to kind of explain how when I was a chubster, how I was eating, and I want you to see if there's any kind of if it reminds you of how you eat right now. Bearing in mind I was constantly trying to get control of my weight. I was constantly trying to lose weight, improve my health, fitness, and all this kind of stuff. All right. So, and this is kind of where I was. Before I start, I want you to imagine, and I'll do it in red. I want you to imagine two lines. Okay. This top line here, ding, 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 ding. All right. Everything's sort of up here. And I think there might be a little text. Yes, there is. Okay. This top line here, this is like a state in the body. Okay, if we imagine like a line, like a beep 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 heart graph thing. Every time the spike gets up here, the body is in a state where it is storing any excess energy as body fat. God, I'm making a right hash of this. Oh, come on. All right, so this is a state where any excess energy, the body is storing it as body fat. Okay, but and what controls that is the amount of insulin that's being released. Okay, so if you imagine like a scale, it goes up, 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 and we get to here. Okay, this is where insulin tells the body, okay, there's a predominant amount of insulin in the bloodstream, okay, and it tells the body to store excess energy as body fat. Okay, everybody got that? That's what this little area here. I'm going to draw another little area down here, and this is an area which you will all know, and it's I'm going to put hangry. So it's when you get hangry. It's when you're like in that state where you just want to kick the door off the fridge, and but you just need food, and you need it now. All right, so this is kind of where we're at. All right, so these are two, and then we've got this zone in the middle. So the way I was eating then, so somebody had told me that a really, really good breakfast was porridge. All right, so I was having porridge in the morning, and because porridge can be a little bit boring, a bit bland, I was adding fruit, right, which I thought was good, and I was adding some natural yogurt, which I thought, this is really good, and I was having a little drizzle of honey as well, and this is what I was having to my porridge. Okay, this is what I was having for my breakfast, because somebody told me that porridge was a complex carbohydrate, and it was a good source of fibre and all this kind of stuff, and natural yogurt is good, and berries is good, and honey's great for you, it's much better than sugar, and all that kind of stuff. Now, unbeknown to me, and probably unbeknown to you, is what this was doing was massively spiking the insulin in my body. Okay, lots of sugar dumped into the bloodstream really, really quickly, and it really spikes your insulin. Okay, and what I now know is that when people talk about, porridge is a good source of complex carbohydrates and all that kind of stuff, I want you to imagine like that every sugar is, it's on a scale, right? So at the bottom of the scale, worst would be, you know, in cereal terms would be like Cocoa Pops or something like that. Or there's a cereal called Crave, right, which is like crack cocaine. You know, my lads have it, and when they've got it in the cupboard, I'm like, my God, I'm just drawn to this stuff. It is just like wrong, but it's so you know, so sweet, and this would be like the bottom of the scale. And then at the top of the scale, you'd have something like kale, cabbage, all that kind of stuff, all right? So you've got a scale, and when they talk about porridge being a complex carbohydrate, well, compared to Cocoa Pops, yes, it is a complex carbohydrate, but compared to the broccoli, well, it's not a complex carbohydrate. I hope you sort of see the difference there. Okay, so, and obviously it was the porridge companies that have said to us, yeah, you want to get porridge because it's a great source of complex carbohydrate, all this kind of stuff. So this is what I was eating, right? Now, what the problem with these big peaks, not only do you go into fat storage mode, but with the big peak, you get a massive drop, all right? And in that massive drop down here, this is where you start getting hungry, and you just, you know, you need to make a food choice. You need to get some food, but you know, other things are kicking in. Chemical drivers are kicking in, which is affecting your choice. Okay, and then what you would do is you would have, you know, usually in the morning, early after, you'd have a mid-morning snack, and for me it would be like a bit of fruit. You know, I'd have a bit of fruit, or I might have a Ryvita with, you know, some cream cheese on it, or whatever, and same again, massive spike in the insulin. Okay, now all these foods, you know, some of the low calorie, low fat diets would say brilliant, you know, and we're educated that this is all great food, but what is actually happening is we're spiking and constantly, you know, and got these big troughs with our food. Lunch would come along, all right, and then lunch for me would be like a pasta, you know, like a tuna pasta, or a meal deal from the shop, or you know, a baked potato with beans, or a baked potato with coleslaw, or with cheese, or something like that. And same again with all these starchy white foods. Bang, we'd have another spike of insulin. You know, another big peak where our body's going into this fat storage mode, right? And then obviously you'd get another big dip. You know, in the mid-afternoon, you're absolutely ravenous by now, and the hunger is really kicking in, and all you want is a snack. And then someone brings in a biscuit in the office, and before you know it, you've had a couple of biscuits. Bang, you've got another big spike, and then a huge drop. And then the evening comes, and oh my God, what the hell are you going to do in the evening? And, you know, eventually you end up phoning for the bloody Chinese takeaway, which got lots of rice in it, lots of sugar in there, lots of sweeteners, you know, really sweet sauces. Or you order a pizza, which is just packed out with sugar, you know, or some other kind of fast food. And or you might have spaghetti bolognese, and because of the spaghetti, you know, it's a real simple sort of sugar. Bang, another big spike. You know, and I was constantly like ding, 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 ding. And I was constantly either in a stage where I was storing excess energy as fat, and if I was overeating, this was, you know, I was putting on weight. Or I was in a state where I just could not make a smart food choice. You know, like no matter how much I wanted to lose weight, the chemical drivers and cravings and the emotions regarding food were just so strong that I was just making some really, really bad food choices. And I was just like, ding, 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 ding. And what I now know is that this pattern here, this pattern is the recipe, is the blueprint for diabetes. If you follow this, the first stage that's going to happen is your body, you know, because you're spiking insulin so much, and in evolutionary times, we would never have been exposed to this much insulin on a daily basis, or on a weekly basis, you know, or on a seasonal basis. We just wouldn't have had that much, that such intense, erratic spiking of insulin in the body. It would be much more controlled. So we're not used to this. We can't handle this. And the body is sort of going, oh, all right, you're spiking insulin. Right, okay, I need to react to that. Bloody hell, you spiking insulin again. Right, I need to react to that. And then I need to react to that. I need to react to that. And then you have this hedonistic thing where this becomes the norm. So then you need to spike more insulin. And this becomes the norm. Then you need to spike more insulin. Then this becomes the norm. And you need to spike more insulin. And then up here, the body's like, well, feck it. If you're not going to react, you know, if you're not going to stop giving me this insulin, then I need to change how I react to it. And it starts ignoring the signals that's sent out from this insulin. Okay, and this is where we start getting insulin resistant. And this is the the initial symptoms of diabetes and all this kind of stuff, right? So I'm hoping you get this, you kind of understand this. Now, right now you might be thinking, bloody hell, all these foods that we spoke about, eating here, eating here, eating here, eating here, and here, these are all the foods that I'm eating right now, and I thought that was good, right? But remember that two things that I want you to remember. The first thing is that there is no good, there is no bad. There is only the wrong context. And following on from that, the second thing is that if before you was eating, non-stop bloody fast food, pizzas, chocolate all the time and all this kind of stuff, then yes, porridge for breakfast, a bloody jacket potato for lunch is a great first step. But as time goes on, you're going to need to change that. You're going to need to constantly improve your food, okay? As the body adapts, as your goals, as you get closer to your goals, as your goals adapt, and the body starts to change, you're going to need to constantly be tweaking what's going on, right? And like I've talked about many times, is that it's a constant turn of the dial. It's a constant new notch. The first notch is, right, let's get rid of the pizza for lunch. The next notch is, right, okay, we've got a jacket potato with beans and cheese. Let's start reducing the amount of beans in there. Next notch is, right, let's only have half a potato instead of a full potato. Next notch, right, let's go for, let's completely get rid of the beans and find something else. And it's a constant change. This is what we need to be doing. So many people hit plateaus in their weight loss and sorting out their eating because they expect that the things that they do right at the start, which gives them results, will give them results for the rest of their weight loss journey, and that's not the case. You've constantly got to be adapting and changing. All right, so kind of remember that. So this is it, right? I'm gonna stop this video now because I've been rabbiting on for, I don't know, half an hour, I think. I don't know. And I'll restart the video in this next phase. Okay, so this is really a really big subject that we're going to spend a lot of time on to make sure you understand it. Okay, so as always, if I've triggered questions, if you've got questions right now, then get in the Facebook group and ask them, and I'll jump on there and answer them as soon as I can. Bearing in mind that I'm going to do another couple. I'm going to fill in lots of gaps here on how you control the insulin, what is actually going on in the body in regards to insulin and all this kind of stuff. All right, so I'll see you in the next video.